Hi, welcome to our latest Intentional Wealth Update with Morton and Brown Family Wealth. I'm Katie Brown and I have Dennis Morton here with me today.
Hi,
Hi,
Katie.
Dennis, how are you?
I'm good. Good, thanks.
Good. So, we are in February, and in our last conversation, we talked a little bit about our three words. So, each year we pick three words to help motivate the work that we're doing and to motivate ourselves individually. So, our three words this year are simplify, confidence, and influence. Today, we specifically want to talk about simplify and ways that we apply it here in our business and the work that we do, but then also ways that you can apply it in your financial world as well. So, Dennis, why don't you share a little bit about what our morning looked like actually today?
Yeah, so this idea for talking about this today came after we sat down as a team for our regular financial planning meeting. And one of the topics that John, our head financial planner, brought to the table was this idea of a one-page financial plan. And he brought different templates, what firms use, and some ideas out there for what if you took all of that information that shows up in a financial plan and put it into one page, something that's concise, readable, understandable, can be a good reference point. And we riffed on that for 45 minutes? We just
Yeah.
talked about like, what would a client appreciate here? How is it useful? All of those things. And in the end, we're like, simplify. That's what this is about. It's about really taking all that stuff and doing the work to get it down to one page.
Yes, yes. And it is interesting. I mean, if I think back on my career over the years, I remember financial planning early on. And, the delivery would be a binder. You'd have 100 pages of everything from current cash flow, savings, estate planning, retirement planning, education planning, all those things that we talk about and we do plan for. But you don't necessarily need that 100-page reminder of where you're at, where you're headed, what's coming up. And so the whole concept, and I think over the years, we've been moving in that direction of how do we simplify it? How do we pull the important things forward? And this morning was a really fantastic exercise, I think, amongst the team, but also it got all of us excited. We're like, oh,
Yeah.
we can do this. We can deliver value very concisely. So let's figure out how to do that. And just for people tuning in, we're working on it. We're not 100%
Yeah.
in our
It's,
final, our
we're,
final
we're,
product, but it's coming.
we're going to throw up a PDF now and say, voila, there we go. We've talked before about the misconceptions about what advisors actually do. So this is pulling back the curtain a little bit to see like, okay, what do you guys do during the day? Are we sitting there watching the markets go up and down? We just had a really good January. That's out of our control. Nature gets more complicated. Things naturally get more complex, accumulate, build, add layers and layers of complexity. So what we're trying to do in the background is trying to filter that out, distill it down to things that are really actionable. And it's the good work I think that advisors should be doing for their clients. So why is it important? Why is a one page? Let's use this as a great case of advisors simplifying financial lives. Why is a one page financial plan important, Katie?
I think it can be far more digestible and actionable because we've all been in meetings before. It doesn't even matter like what your industry is. I'm sure everybody can relate. Sometimes when you're in meetings and you have somebody presenting something and they come in with a massive report and a lot of jargon, at some point it goes over your head and it's just exhausting and you don't necessarily have the mental capacity to digest everything that's happening and to pull out the necessary pieces. And so we kind of want to fight against that a little bit and have something that encourages implementation, because I think that's part of the challenge too, is sometimes we can do the work, but it's implementing it that makes the difference, and building that awareness and implementation without feeling overwhelmed.
Yeah, and that overwhelmed thing, it's kind of how it's received. Oftentimes we're sitting together with spouses or a couple, there's multiple people at the table when we're presenting a plan. And what we've learned is sometimes those two people are walking away having been in two completely different meetings. They heard different stuff. There were different alarm bells going off at different times. They're walking away with different impressions. What if we could take just kind of a one-page summary or snapshot of their financial life and give it to them to take home and just digest together? And it becomes something a little bit more consistent and facilitates conversations later on. I think that would be a really good outcome.
Yes, yes. And sometimes it does make sense during the meeting. You're right. It might make sense differently, but it makes sense during the meeting. It's great to talk through. And We still enjoy going down into the weeds, going into the nitty gritty
Mm.
when it's appropriate to do so. But to have something, like you said, that you can walk away with and you can go back and reflect on later, and it makes sense without having to say, okay, I have this number here. Now let me figure out how this number 5 pages later ties back. So
Right,
to just have that memorialized a little bit more cleanly so that you can go back at any point in the future.
right, right. Yeah, the weeds are still there. We're just not showing them to you. So unless we want to go there. So what are some things that we would put onto a one-page financial plan? I think we all had kind of different ideas of what
Mhm.
would be helpful to see there. I know you had a couple of ideas of stuff that really jumped out and said this is worth seeing in that limited real estate of a 8.5 by 11.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I think a quick snapshot of net worth and liquid net worth. So in investable assets. And especially for our clients that we've been working with for a while, the opportunity to show how that has been trending, I think is helpful. We often talk about those trend lines. The numbers are going to change constantly. So not as concerned about the numbers specifically, especially when we get years out. So I like the idea of kind of keeping it a little bit shorter as well.
Mhm.
But starting to pick up on how things are trending. That's one of the top priorities for me on the one pager. But I have other ideas too.
I,
You go
well,
next.
all right. One that I liked was when you think of the pie chart, whether it's your amount of stocks and bonds and cash and everything else, but one of them had a pie chart that was by account type. So your tax qualified accounts like IRAs or 401ks, your cash accounts, your taxable investments. I think that's helpful because we often talk about what is the purpose behind them, not just how they're invested. Is it for liquidity? Is it for growth or anything else or retirement? I like seeing that pie chart to show like the diversity of asset by type.
Mhm, mhm. I like a little snapshot also of family priorities and family values as
Hmm.
as what is going to drive the plan. And I think that's another discussion that we often have. There may be a number on the piece of paper, or there might be a number that makes sense from a traditional planning perspective. But if
Right.
that doesn't fit with your family values and your family priorities, then there's probably a better alternate plan that you're going to be more comfortable with and really will implement and embrace.
What if we put the three words at the top? That would be cool. I mean, or something, or a little triggering word, to
Yeah.
keep focus. I like action items. Another thing that I thought was interesting to pull forward is maybe something about risk or some mentioning of risk, like unique risks, maybe or even things that might be of concern right now. I'm tinkering with this since we had the conversation this morning, but just this idea that in spring of 2020, you were concerned about next shoe falling in the pandemic, you were concerned about the election coming up and all these other things, memorializing that a little bit. So you can go back and say, all right, these are the things that we were concerned about over time, yet we made progress despite that. I like the idea of capturing somehow the things that a lot of our concerns in real time are transient, but the momentum and the things we can control are really influential.
Yeah. That's a good reminder to build the appropriate context or put the appropriate qualifiers in there, I think, going
Yeah,
forward.
yeah.
Yeah. And also something that says, yes, I'm on track, or this is the area I need to work.
Mm,
I think that's really helpful too, because that a lot of the conversations boil down to that, am I okay?
am
So
I?
something that gets at that piece of it.
Yeah, yeah. You know what? You know what we didn't see on any of the sample plans that we pulled up, the one-page financial plans?
Mhm. I don't know.
A question for the audience.
Chime in anytime.
Feel free. This is open. So 30 people.
Performance.
Performance.
We
That's
didn't see performance.
no
Yes.
no performance. Because what this is doing, I mean, this is the antidote to what is usually provided by financial institutions. 50-page financial plans, 100-page statements with all these transactions and everything else,
Mhm.
your performance, all that stuff, it doesn't show up because that's all baked into the plan. The plan has assumptions about your growth and how things are going there, but it can be a distraction. And this is getting at the things that are truly actionable.
Actionable and unique, specific to your family. I mean, your goals are going to be different from the next person's goals. So it doesn't make sense to compare that performance when you have different objectives too. I think more of, am I on track? Am I trending well? Am I where I need to be? That's of more value than a performance number.
Yep. Because I mean, you're like this year, we're doing kind of first quarter meetings now. We're looking at performance from last year, and the markets were down last year. Unless you hit found the silver bullet, you were probably negative on the year. But that's not the indicator. That doesn't. You're not making decisions based on that. You're making decisions based on a progress, and that's what the one-page plan should show. Anything else you'd like to see on your one-page financial plan, Katie? And this is we're gonna say this, and we're gonna wrap up here in a minute. But if you have ideas for what could be on a one-page financial plan or what you'd like to see, shoot us an email. Or give us a call, and I'm happy to talk that through because we'd love to put this together into something that becomes actionable for our clients.
Absolutely.
Anything else you'd like to see on your one-page financial plan, Katie?
I don't think, I mean, like I said, the priorities and the values, I think that really kind of allows you to make that connection with your personal family. So that's kind of where my brain went. Like, the plan is for all of us to live our best lives. So let's make sure that we're acknowledging that in some form or fashion.
Yeah, I think it's having a good balance between numbers and language, the language that you can communicate back and forth between your advisor and yourself, between spouses and couples. I think all of those things are really important. So, all right, well, that wraps up for today. If you have questions or comments or have things that you'd like to see on a plan, feel free to shoot us a message. Until next time, have a great week.
Take care.